GC, you will give the relation of this entity in the universe, and the universal forces, giving the conditions that are as personalities, latent and exhibited, in the present life. Also the former appearances in the Earth's plane, giving time, place, and the name, and that in that life which built or retarded the development for the entity, giving the abilities of the present entity, and that to which it may attain, and how. EC, yes, we have the entity here, and the universal relations that the entity bears with the universe, with those conditions as are exhibited and latent in the present Earth plane, with the former appearances and those relations with the present entity and the development of same, giving them the abilities and how they may be brought to their highest effect in the present Earth's plane, for we find the developments in the Earth plane have much to do with the present entity and the abilities of the entity in the present Earth plane. In taking then the position in the present Earth plane, we find first those influences as are seen in the astronomical conditions, those of Mercury and Jupiter, with Uranus and Venus. The entity then bearing many relations with former appearances and latent and exhibited influences in the present Earth plane. With these astronomical conditions we find one in the development, one of the turn of mind, to seek the intrinsic force and value of every condition as presented to the entity. One rather reclusive and exclusive in thought, action and deed. One that abhors the false and seeks the right. One that gives much toward the developing of others. In the physical, we find one as appears to many peculiar in manner, of action and of speech, of intent and purpose rather hidden from others. As to the appearances, as we see, these also have much to do with the trend of thought of the individual. In the one before this we find in the days when there was the study of the church relations with the state in England, the entity then in that group of recluse students who've much study in the way of such conditions, applying self, though, in that more to those of ornamental conditions relating to architectural forces. Hence the entity, we find in the present, has that ability to design many things that pertain to woodwork, not gifted, other than designing. In that entity we find in the name of Lapid, known as Father Lapid, and the entity develops much in that plane, gaining the love in the latter portion of life as pertains to the relation of same with the physical forces of body. Hence we find those conditions latent, as exhibited in the personality of the entity, recluse in nature, slow to anger, violent in likes and dislikes and exclusive in thought. In the one before this we find in the times when the wars in the Holy Land, the entity then in the name of Egbert, and was a defender in the land, where he went as a shield-bearer to the then leader of those forces. The entity lost the life in Earth's plane in the second fray in defense of his leader. 341. In the abilities and personalities in the present from this, we find the entity the defender at any cost of principles or of friendships, or of those whom the entity likes or dislikes, the same principles bearing in each. See 341-17. In the one before this we find in the Plains country, where the entity became the follower of the Nazarene, under the tutelage of one close to the master. Then in the name of Jehovah, and the entity became a missionary to the peoples in that land, and in the last days of earthly existence in that plain suffered martyrdom with the entity whom he was then associated with in those labours. 341. In the present we find the entity then, especially gifted toward the study of the religion as was then deep-seated in the soul of the entity, and remains a part of same, giving the ennobling influence in the life of the entity, and becoming a part of same. Then, the abilities in the present plane lie in those relations as is sought in the inmost being of the entity in this sphere, as that of the teacher, lecturer or writer, to those seeking the knowledge of the spiritual indwelling in man of the principles of the Christ. In the one before this we find in the days of the second rule in now Egypt, when the entity then in the brother of the ruler who gave the first laws to the peoples of the indwelling of the high forces as might be manifest in the earth's plane, C341. The entity then in the name of Ralia C341-9, par. 8 on the 6th of February 2025, indicating that 78 was 341's brother in the Egyptian sojourn, and was first the hindrance to the brother and later the assistant. When the laws began to take shape in that country and the effects of same became manifest. In the present entity these personalities become then exhibited. The ability to study conditions as are presented and withhold criticism until the truth of same is either shown or disproved in same, and the ability to apply mental forces in physical and in spiritual development. In each, then, we find, the entity has developed in the earth's plane, save in the first appearance, in this was just given. Then, the abilities in the present earth plane lie in that of the entity gaining the understanding of self and of self's relations to the higher forces, and in gaining control of all forces manifested in the flesh. Then becoming, through this manner, able to apply same to the assistance of others. Forgetting not those first injunctions as are ever latent in the inmost forces of the entity, the approach to the higher elements, whether of physical, spiritual, mental, material, all must come through him, the advocate with the Father, for in applying self, as was the ensample, making self of no estate that the truth may conquer in the name of him who is above every name, the name of Jesus. In the present earth plane, then, apply self in the developing of the mental forces and correlate those conditions, those studies, those elements that have ever been present in the entities indwelling in the earth. For in so doing the entity renders the highest service to man, the Lord of God's creation. We are through.